And welcome into Missouri 8-Man football. I am Devin Albertson, joined here by Coach Dean as we're getting ready for week 8 of the high school football season.
Anthony Crane on the base.
He wishes. He's covering some softball tonight, so he won't be joining us today on here, but he did send us our picks, so we'll be able to ridicule him without him being here, so it's even better on there. So there's some
All
people who will applause Anthony not being here today.
yeah, all teams around the street stay and breathe easy tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, excited for this one here again. Last week, kind of look at some games there real quick and some of the biggest action there. One of the bigger games of the week that I was able to highlight in the show last week is Nottoway Valley at Mountain City. Nottoway Valley winning 44-32. But watching that game, as I was flipping through other games here on the show, Mountain City went up 24-20 in the third quarter against Nottoway Valley, and I think people got a little bit worried there for a second. The Nottoway Valley went on a 24-0 run and kind of put that game away a little bit. Mountain City scored late, and Nottoway Valley was able to run the clock out and get that win there. So it was maybe a more difficult win than Nottoway Valley expected going into that one, but Mountain City kind of proving they can still hang with some of the big dogs this year. It's their two losses are to Pattonsburg and Nottoway Valley, who are both undefeated this year and top 7 teams in the state. So it's two high-quality losses for Mountain City as they're one of the best of the rest right now outside the top 10.
Yeah, you like to see Mound City giving Nod Valley everything they can handle and more. The arrows definitely pointed up for the Panthers and their brand of football. Good job on Nod Valley kind of surviving and advancing there. That was a real testament of a type of a game there. And they had to find a way to win in the end, and they ended up doing that. And you like to see that in teams that want to make playoff runs.
Absolutely, and they really haven't been non-Valley. They haven't really been tested this year. All their games, week 1 versus St. Joe Christian, jumped about early. Killed Albany week 2. Same thing with the Stewartsville, DeKalb. Got up big on EA. Shut out Platte Valley. So they really hadn't been tested in a close game that had to play 4 quarters on here. So honestly, might be a good thing for them going into this Rockport game this next week
Mm.
of having to put a complete game together and having to deal with some adversity before you play the number 1 team in the state on here. I don't think Mountain City is at quite the level Rockport is. They're going to play
Yeah.
better this week. The Thunder will, but that's maybe not the worst thing. They actually get, hey, we're going to get punched back a little bit. How do we respond? What adjustments do we need to make versus teams who can stop some of our best stuff and adjust from there? So I think it's really good. And Mountain City has some guys. The Roop kid there at running back, he's elusive and he's quick. And I've seen that kid play basketball live a few times, and he just moves different sometimes. Like, okay, that kid's an athlete on there, and he showed on the football field this year. And Mountain City really solid this year, and I think it's a really good win for Nottoway Valley. Definitely the best win on their resume so far,
Hmm.
and they're able to play Rockport this week and come back home in there. And really excited to see how that matchup works. We'll get to that matchup later. I just wanted to
Yeah,
maybe say it might
definitely.
be a good thing there for Nottoway Valley. Other games this past week, again, Lockwood and Archie both won on Thursday night. Rockport and Worth County both won at halftime games. They were all 4 blowouts there. Norbert Hardin Central went up like 40-0, 48-0 early first quarter versus Keatsville and cruised the rest of the way for a win. The next big one, Knox County going to North Shelby, winning 58-24 to win the CR North Division title. Again, Gannon Bowen dressed out for North Shelby. He did not play a single snap. I was watching to see if he would get on the field there. I kept seeing 13 on the sideline. He never came in. I don't think that ankle was quite good enough to give it a go versus Knox, and they're going to want him back for a possible rematch here in a few weeks there. But shout out to Knox County. That was a hard-fought game for most of the game there. Again, the score not quite indicative of how close that game was for most of it. Knox kind of pulled away late. I do think Cooper Clare, I think he had 6 touchdowns in that game versus North Shelby. He's just really fun to watch. And I think some people I talked to after that game said, well, North Shelby lost Bowen on offense. He's a state leading rusher going into last week, and all that's well and good on offense. They say maybe defensively is where they miss him the most because he fills a lot of gaps
Yeah.
there because he plays kind of that rover position for him on defense. So if that first line gets beat, 13 is there to help clean everything up, and you don't have that guy, just a little bit different for that defense there for North Shelby.
Yeah, definitely. The coaching staff over there had to make a decision. They got big aspirations, and but shout out to Knox. Still, you can
Yes.
only play the team that's on the field, and we see Coach Vanoy and Knox over there continue to take care of business as they have all year. and a high quality win for the Eagles over there. And probably looking forward to a rematch in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. They're definitely looking for that. They have a good Lincoln team coming to town this Friday, starting at 6 o'clock there in a couple of nights, and that should be a really fun game for
Yeah, that
Knox as
should.
well. Again, first 5 games was the toughest schedule. Paris, North Shelby, Lincoln. This was the meat of the schedule right now. So far, 2-0, everything looking pretty good. A couple of multi-score wins here for the Eagles, and now they get to play a really good Lincoln team who's kind of rolling in here this next week. We'll talk about the game later. But again, I think Cooper Clare took the lead in the state in rushing now, a little over 1,100 yards, almost 1,200 yards, and 29 rushing touchdowns on the year. 37 total touchdowns this year for Clare. And he's been really good, but also Carson Hayes, Isaac, I think it's Shahan there for Knox, 2 other guys, and Karhoff. Those other 3 guys, we don't talk about them enough of how much
True.
they stepped up and given them other options. That way you can't just solely focus on number 17. Okay, if we focus too much here, those guys are going to kill us too. And I believe it was the last game there versus North Shelby. They ran just the perfect double pass. We're throwing it back to the back out of the backfield. He catches it, and the dude, as soon as he threw it backwards, watching the game live, I'm like, oh, it's a double pass on here. I'm like, and as soon as he threw it, I saw the camera panned over, and there was no one in the same county as the receiver. I'm like, please hit him. Please don't overthrow him. He able to make the catch for, I think, a 35-yard touchdown. As Hayes throwing it there. I believe it was Karhoff, I think, had the touchdown. It was either him or Shahan. I don't remember exactly there, but it was really well-designed play, and I'm glad they were able to hit on that because it was really well executed there for the Eagles on there. So, yeah, great win for Knox County and kind of get that monkey off their back at North Shelby. I know they beat
Oh
them last
yeah, that's a
season,
good
but
point.
North Shelby was even more banged up last year at this point they are right
True.
now. And they lost to them by 2 in the playoffs, so they'll have a chance for possibly another rematch in a district championship game. But also, I think I saw an TV art segment up there in Knox County, that area, one of the TV stations up there. Best start in school history at 7-0 for Knox
Yeah,
County. So
I
good to
saw
see
that.
that for the Eagles. And you talk about Bruce Van Noy, one of the better coaches in the state, and he's one of the better guys.
Yep.
He's a dude's dude. He's perfect for a small school coach on there. He's a great hang. And uh, if you
Yeah.
listen to Anthony Kane's podcast, he had Chuck Davis on for one of his shows there. I was listening to him last night and this morning. And they talked about Bruce on there because he lives in Edina, which is, if you don't know, is in the far northeast corner of the state. It's way over there, but near Kirksville. He's a Chiefs season ticket holder, so he drives across the state for Chiefs home games. That's gotta be long days.
Yeah.
On there, but he has his football team looking really
Rolling.
good right now.
Yep.
So that was a big game there. Pattonsburg was able to withstand a nice little challenge from St. Joe Christian, 58-32.
Yep.
That game was 38-32,
Yep.
fourth quarter, I
It
think, on there, and
was. It
Pattonsburg
was.
pulled away. So really fun there. Appleton City versus Lincoln, 70-34, but that game was back and forth for the first quarter and a half or so before Appleton started to pull away a little bit there. So a good showing from Lincoln after they had a couple of rough games there. Middle part of their schedule kind of played better. I think one of their better games the last month versus a quality team there. And I think if they played like that versus some teams they lost to, they'd have a couple more wins there because they played much better on Friday than they had in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. Just correct you there. That was Liberal versus Appleton.
Yes, who did I say?
Yep. Lincoln.
No, my bad.
Yep.
Got too many L's
Yep.
here in the state with that. Northwest Hughesville beat Slater 72-32. They were up big and kind of kept Slater at base at arm's length there.
Yep.
King City North Andrew 42-32 win for King City without their starting quarterback. And creds North Andrew. Those
Yes.
kids fought their tails off there for that game, and that was a really good moment for that community after what they dealt with last week to play that tough in a football game. Something the small schools can really rally behind, and love seeing that.
Yeah. And then on the King City side, being down your quarterback, finding a way to win with some other guys will only help you going forward.
Absolutely. A nice little gritty win there for King City as they get ready for their home stretch. Another game this week. Then they got the big one in week 9. They got Christian this week, and they got Worth County coming up in week 9. After that, Albany beat Princeton 58-24. Bramer played Schuyler. The game started at 6 o'clock, so we got to see a little bit of that. Bramer jumped up early on Schuyler, and then kind of like what Hughesville did with Slater, kept him at arm's length the rest of the game. I think it was 40-0 at one point early in that game, and it ended up being 82-42. So just one of those games where neither team really made stops after that first quarter. There's a big win there for Bramer, 2 in a row,
Yep.
I believe,
Rolling, yeah. They're getting a
for the
little roll
Bobcats.
going here.
They do play Northern Hartsville this week, so that might
It's going
roll
to be a tough one.
into a brick wall on that one. Drexel, another shootout win for them over Greenfield. Nice win there for the Bobcats, and Greenfield just really struggling on defense here still. But good
Yeah.
win for Drexel as they kind of try to improve their seeding for districts coming forward here. And in that district, Lincoln got a big home win over Paris, 44-16, in a game that, talking about last week, we were all three kind of going back and forth on who to pick in
Yeah.
this game. I ended up going with Lincoln, and now I feel real smart because they jumped up on Paris pretty early there. Um, and we talked about a little bit with Lincoln so far this year. Their skill guys are really good
Yes.
with Sanders and Parrott. Those guys they're dudes on
Yeah.
there. So if their line can hold up there, and Eckhoff's a pretty good defenseman, number 63 there for Lincoln as well on defense. And if I think they're starting to figure out the schemes a little bit as well, and just the spacing and stuff like that. Again,
Yeah.
it takes some people, and again, this is a school that wasn't sure they were going 8-man until late August on here,
Sure.
so
Sure.
it takes a little bit to figure out some of the schemes and stuff like that. And they have the athletes to utilize that spacing on offense here, and they will do that versus Paris, and played really well defensively. Paris is no slouch on offense,
Yeah.
and holding the 2 touchdowns is really impressive for Lincoln. That's
Yeah.
one of the more impressive wins we've seen this year, and for Lincoln.
Yeah, Lincoln put a lot of pressure on Paris in that game, and Paris made some kind of uncharacteristic mistakes, and Lincoln's able to jump on it and take advantage of it. Again, I'm going to say, man, their quarterback's got to be almost one of the best in the state. Very explosive guy, great arm. And then number 4, Parrott, I believe, is a wonderful receiver. So they could be really scary in district play.
Absolutely. They're going to be playing, they're in the same district as Drexel, Appleton, and Archie. And this is a situation where those teams don't really have very many common opponents. So you really don't know what to expect going into that game. That should be a lot of fun. A lot of good athletes in that little district there. That should be a lot of fun come district time. Could be a couple of good semifinal games in that district. That 2-3 matchup could be a lot of fun. Because we saw Appleton and Drexel in the shootout earlier this year on there. And we saw Drexel give Archie a good game for half and some change on there. So if Lincoln can be out of that mix, that's 4 really high-quality teams there in that district. Up next, LeBlanc got a big win over Northland Christian, 56-22. East Atchison at Platte Valley. Again, this was a 24-18 lead for Platte Valley going into the fourth quarter, and then EA outscores them 20-0 in the fourth for a big conference win for the Wolves. They're going to finish above 500 this year in the regular season. Shout out to Coach Piper. He's my guy over there in Tarkio, and the job he's done in his first year as the head coach there. Again, was a DC the last couple of years, and be able to keep that torch from Coach Barons and keep it rolling there in Tarkio has been quite impressive with that. And they got a couple of guys who hadn't played football since like junior high come back out this year and making an impact. Parker Livengood, really good basketball player for him this year. Last couple of years, he's going to be a junior this year. Had 2 touchdown receptions versus Platte Valley. He hadn't played since 8th grade. So kids like that going back out, just been, it helps having those athletes to come back out for football, helps kind of boost everything for the team. So good win there for EA.
Well, and you like seeing Platte Valley play this one tough and
Yes,
really competing in this one. And you keep pushing over there in Platte Valley, and you get that thing turned around within these next couple games.
and I have heard from multiple people that Platte Valley, they are freaking huge, is what I keep being told. They're so big up front.
They are.
They're
Yeah.
so big, and I wonder sometimes that you have a lot of size. Play a 4-quarter game, sometimes those guys get wore down a little bit more, just not quite as quick in the fourth quarter compared to they were in the first quarter when they can lean on you a little bit more. As a big guy myself, you get a little tiring in the third, fourth quarter
Yeah.
as we're going. OCL with a big win over Ridge Hill, 46-14. Good win there for the Indians. And then the Mayor's Cup, they're in Concordia, the Battle of Concordia. The
Yeah.
Orioles take down St. Paul Lutheran 38-30. But it wasn't easy. St. Paul made it really tough on Concordia here this week. Good win for the Orioles to stay where they're at in the I-70, but St. Paul still kind of sticking around and making things
Yeah.
difficult here for teams late in the year.
Yep, that's that classic rivalry right there. Those teams always play a close one, and came down to just a play here or there, and it could have went either way.
Yeah, and I'm going to pull up the box score here real quick so everyone can kind of see the difference of styles here between these two teams.
Yeah.
Concordia, 5 pass attempts, didn't complete any of them, so 0 yards there. St. Paul, 44 pass attempts, 330 yards through the air. Only 38 yards rushing for St. Paul on the ground on 20 carries. Concordia 53 carries for 439 yards, including 270 from Lane Haas. And then, of course, we can't talk about St. Paul without Tate Kreisel, 15 for 218 yards and a touchdown
Whew.
on there. He's leading the state. He has over 1,000 yards
Yeah,
already this year and almost 20 receiving touchdowns. He's really good. He is a dude at receiver on there.
yeah.
So I saw that box score when it came in. They came in at separate times. So I got St. Paul's first. Yeah, 330 yards passing. That makes sense for St. Paul. That Concordia is like 0 passes completed. How much they run the floor? 400 yards. Okay, that makes sense. So Concordia's got that big old line. They just like to run behind him, and Drogi being healthy, and then Haas being the dude that he is. Really impressive showing in front of those two, and then of course Nephi Han doing a great job as well.
I really like that stat sheet comparison, though. There's two teams doing exactly what they believe in, and both of them had a high level of success in it. So it's kind of fun to see the two different styles match up there.
And that's one of the things I love about 8-man. There's so many different styles that you can play based on the
Yeah,
athletes that you have on here. Because if you're St. Paul, you're not going to win a lot of games if you're going to try to do power I
yeah,
and try to bully teams on there. You have
yeah.
speed on the outside. And if you're Concordia, you have some big dudes up front and some dudes at running back. Let's pound the ball at you, run the ball on here. So makes sense for both teams on there. Just it's always, as you said, really fun to watch the different styles matching up and both having success just at different ways on here to get around
Well,
it.
and shout out to Coach Gifford on that because just a couple years ago they were a little more ground and pound behind a Jaden Maggart, and
Hmm.
they kind of realized the Chrysler sheets coming and kind of went to a little more pass heavy offense. So really tailoring his offense to what the athletes he's got.
Yeah, because whenever those teams first came to 8-man, St. Paul was kind of wing formations. We're going to run the ball, some misdirection on here. And Concordia, hey, we're 3 or 4
Yeah,
wide out here. We're swinging around.
yeah, that's
They
true.
flipped
They did.
on you. They're like, hey, we're just going to
You're right.
flip our offenses here a little bit. So it's kind of fun to watch how teams kind of develop over the years
Yeah,
with that. So, other one, Stewartsville Osborne got the first win of the year over DeKalb, 58-20. Good win there for the Wild Cards. Get their first win in over a year. They went winless last year, so love seeing the Wild Cards get back on the winning track there. And Coach Jacobs with his first win as a varsity coach on here again. That's their first win since 2023 when they beat DeKalb 60-30. A little over 2 years, almost 2 years for them. So good for those kids and that program
yeah,
to get on the win there.
yeah.
Just takes a little bit of time sometimes.
Yeah, I believe we all picked against them last week.
Yep, gave DeKalb the
So
old kiss of death. So that was on us.
good job. Good job, Stewartsville.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep, we're sorry. You guys proved it on the field there. Congrats.
Last 2 games here, Sweet Springs over Oric, 42-20. And again, that game was back and forth for about a half. And then Sweet Springs kind of turned the tables. The second half, they've struggled the last couple of weeks. This time they were able to wear down Oric and get a nice little win there in the I-70 division and the I-70 conference. And then Wellington Napoleon all over Santa Fe, 58 to
Yep,
12. I think it was 58-0 at halftime. Will Knapp still rolling down there. Still one of the better teams who aren't being able to get ranked right now because they've had a couple of tough losses on here, but still a
yeah,
very high quality opponent there in the middle of the state.
definitely.
Okay, so before we get on to the picks for this week, I just want to take a quick look at district standings and what all that kind of looks like since we only have a couple of regular season games left on here. So starting in district number 1, I'm going to make this a little bigger so everyone can see it. Here, so this is the top half of the state on here at bracket wise. District 1 got Lockwood as the 1 seed. Right now, Liberal's the 2 seed with points, but Jasper has the head to head. So Jasper right now looking at the 2
That's true.
seed, followed by Liberal, Greenfield, and New Heights. I don't see much movement happening in that one from here on. So I think it's pretty set what you're looking here. So first round matchups,
Yeah,
Lockwood gets a bye. Liberal and Jasper will play in Jasper in week 2. So both teams will play that for opening weekend. They'll play each other. And then Greenfield, New Heights, winner of that game will go to Lockwood. So
yeah,
that's already kind of set there in District 1.
yep,
District 2, still some movement that could be had here. Archie and Appleton are pretty much Archie and the 1 seed's pretty much locked in
yes,
here, unless something weird happens down the stretch. Now, Appleton and Lincoln and Drexel here, a lot of movement can happen here in the middle of this because Appleton still has a really good Lockwood team this week. Lincoln still has to play Knox County and LeBlanc. It's not 2 easy games there for them. And Drexel has 2 winnable games here. So you could have Lincoln as high as a 2 seed, as low as the 4. And Appleton and Drexel, the 2 and 4 or 2 or 3 kind of depends, or it could be 3 and 4. So a lot of movement there in the middle of this
yeah,
district. Osceola the 5 and Rich Hill the 6 kind of set in stone as well. So you have the middle 3 teams there still kind of jockeying for the position.
Yes.
And honestly, for Lincoln, beating Paris last week was a huge boost for them. And it'd be a lot. I think they have to lose the last two games for Drexel to have enough to catch them in the standings on there. Is what.
Yeah.
So if you're a Drexel Bobcat fan, you're an Eagles fan over the next 2 weeks between Knox County and Bishop Blonde. You're for
Yeah.
both the Eagles over the next 2 weeks against Lincoln. With that, and again, if Lincoln wins both those games and Appleton loses to Lockwood, I think Lincoln gets your 2 seed and gets a bye, and all of a sudden you have Appleton as the 3 seed, Drexel the 4. So Drexel would host Osceola, Rich Hill would go to Appleton, and then the winner of those games, Appleton probably playing at Lincoln, and then Drexel probably playing at Archie in the second round. So still lots to be happening in that district, but definitely a possibility there, some movement here in the last couple of weeks
Yeah.
in District 2. District 7, again, a lot going to happen here because Worth County plays both Pattonsburg and King City over the next 2 weeks. So this district will figure itself out on the field
Yeah.
the next 2 weeks because Worth County could be the 1 seed, could be the 3
Yeah.
on here. So it should be a lot of fun to see how these teams kind of work themselves out.
What a
Uh,
district.
yeah, Albany, Stanberry, Princeton are all kind of locked in that 4 through 6 on here. So you
Yeah.
expect Stanberry at Albany in that first round. Princeton, unfortunately, has to play a ranked team or a top 15 team no matter what in the first round of districts with Pattonsburg, Worth County, King City. The worst of those 3 will be the 3 seed on that
Jeez.
one. Tough district there. So
Yeah.
districts 2 and 7, pretty stacked at the top with some really good teams on there for both of them. District 8, everything is kind of already figured out and set in stone
Yeah.
for that one. Knox the 1, North Shelby the 2, Paris the 3, Schuyler the 4, and Keatsville the 5. Even if Knox loses this next week, they have Keatsville week 9. They have to head over North Shelby. They're going to get that 1 seed. If it's not by official points, they'll still jump over them with a tiebreaker over
Yeah.
both them and Paris. So that one is set in stone order-wise as well, with North Shelby with the head over Paris as well. They're in District 8. District 3, I don't think there's much movement to be had in this one either at this point because all the teams have played and beaten each other and are kind of
Yeah.
in the right order at what they are right now.
Yeah.
Hughesville, Concordia, St. Paul, Sweet Spring, Santa Fe, Slater. Slater could jump Santa Fe. I think Slater has Bramer coming up here towards the end of their schedule, so they get the 2 wins, and that points up to the point system on there, and that's always kind of interesting to see how that plays out. But this district at the top 4 seeds are all kind of locked into where they're going to be.
Yeah. Congrats to Hughesville on that. I know they know their work's not done over there, and Coach Crocker's going to get them geared up for the playoffs. But it's been a long time since we've seen them as the 1 seed in their district.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. And they got Keatsville this week, and they go at Northern Hardin Central next week for a chance for a divisional title there in the Central River South Division. So a couple of big games coming up for Hughesville. Concordia, they have a big game in week 9 at home versus Wellington Napoleon for the I-70 title on there as well. So those 2 teams both have big games.
Yeah.
But even if Concordia goes undefeated and Hughesville loses to them, both finish 7-2, but Concordia lost to Hughesville head-to-head. So
Yeah.
Hughesville will be the 1 seed, but they both have buys kind of locked up in that district. So we could get St. Paul Concordia round 2 here in just a few weeks. There could be a lot of fun there in the playoffs.
Yep.
District 4, this one, top 2 are definitely set, Northern Hardin Central and Wellington Napoleon. After that, though, Oric, Bramer are going to be kind of battling for that 3 seed. They don't play each other this year on here. Oric does have Santa Fe and St. Paul Lutheran coming up here. If they split them, you can see a chance for them to keep that 3 seed because Bramer, they have Northern Hardin Central, then Slater up. So kind of a couple of toss-up games for both of them in there. So they're only separated by 0.03 of a point right now in district standings. And then you get Northland Christian. They're also at 2 and 5. And Northland, they have a bye this week, and they have KC's Christian in week number 9 on there. So they have an outside shot to jump up there as well. But most likely Northland probably the 5 seed traveling to either Oric or Bramer. And then whoever's higher in that Oric Bramer game, they go to Wellington Napoleon in that second round, getting a bye that first week though and get healthy before you go in there. And then winner of the 4-5 matchup plays the Aggies on the road. And again, the Aggies beat Wellington head to head, so they've already locked up that 1 seed, and Wellington's already beaten Oric there, so they've already locked up that 2 seed as well. So everything pretty set in stone in both 3 and 4 going forward.
Yep.
District 5 is a mess. Is what I'm going to say with this one. LeBlanc 3 and 4, St. Joe Christian 3 and 4, South Holt 3 and 4. Stewartsville has the 4 seed locked up as they beat DeKalb head to head. So the bottom of the district 4-5, that's set. Everything else above that is just chaos. Let's look at South Holt real quick, who they have remaining here. They got at Platte Valley this week, and then versus Nottoway Valley right now. Probably underdogs in both on here. An outside chance of beating Platte Valley, but definitely not given there for that one. So we're looking at that, and then we're gonna be heavy underdog versus Nottoway Valley, so they could be 3-6 or 4-5 is probably what we're looking at for South Holt. St. Joe Christian, they have at King City this week, and then versus Princeton next week. I'm gonna say they probably split those games and finish 4-5, so be right there. And then Bishop of Blonde, Greenfield this week, Lincoln in week 9. Probably a
They're
split.
split.
They
Yep.
could win both. I don't know, but I'm going to go with the split for right now because Lincoln's going to be favored over them. So there's a chance that all three of these teams finish 4-5. And at that point, you just put it up to mission points and just kind of just throw your hands up, and whoever's
Yeah.
the highest gets the gets the 1 seed. They all three are going to get a bye for that first round. Just who they play in the second week, whether they're
Yeah.
playing one of each other or playing a winner of Stewartsville DeKalb in the rematch on there
Yeah.
in district number 5. But that's gonna be interesting one to kind of see how it kind of works itself out on their 3 teams that I think all probably thought they're underachieving a little bit
Mhm.
this year based on their record. But it can be interesting to see what they can do come playoff time because LeBlanc showed they can win the playoffs. St. Joe Christian has a really good scheme that wins in the playoffs, that running action. And South Holt's super young this year, and Josh Peterson's a good coach. Peterson, Schoonover, and Davis, 3 really good coaches at the top of that district that are going to get everything they can out of the talent they have.
Yeah.
That should be a lot of fun. And last but not least, district number 6. Of course, we have Rockport and Nottoway Valley. Whoever wins this week will be the 1 seed. I know we get in the comments there, why is Rockport the 2 seed? Because of strength of schedule. That's the only reason. That's the only thing separating those 2 teams right now. Everything else is almost dead even on there. Just a slight edge for Nottoway Valley. And their one close win, they won by 12, and Rockport won theirs by 8. That's like the only thing difference between these 2 teams. Whoever wins this week will be the 1 seed. Mound City has the 3 seed locked up. EA has the 4 seed pretty much locked up. Platte Valley North Andrew is still up for grabs for that 5 seed. On here, as I said about Platte Valley a minute ago, they have South Holt and Stewartsville left. So could be 4-5, could be
Yeah.
3-6 how that South Holt game kind of goes. And then North Andrew has Princeton and Stanberry, so it could be 2 wins for them, so they could finish 4-5 as well. So kind of 2 teams that can boost their record here at the end on here. And again, the worst team in District 8 could be 4-5, and that'd be the same record as the 1 seed in District 5. So crazy, crazy how the districts kind of get lined up this
Yeah.
year with that. And again, District 6, 2 top 5 teams right now, and then Mound City is a top 15 team for sure. So another
Yeah.
district that's pretty loaded at the
Back,
top.
yeah.
And if you're Mound City, Rockport still plays Mound City next week, so they don't have a bye locked up yet. They could lose both of those games, and all of a sudden look at the 3 seed and have them be on the roads for the couple rounds of the districts on there. So it's not out of the realm of possibility right now for Rockport. Not likely, in my opinion, but
Yeah.
that possibility is still there. Weird things happen sometimes in football. Nothing's a given. As we're going, Nottoway Valley, they do have a bye locked up at minimum, unlike Rockport. So that's just a look at what's happening in districts here. I know it's always kind of fun to look at.
Still a lot to play for these last 2 weeks.
Yep, and a lot of good matchups over the last 2 weeks that are going to decide not only
Yeah.
some district seedings, but also some conference titles. Talked about a minute ago, week 9, you have Norburn, Hardin Central, and Hughesville. You have Concordia versus Wellington for the I-70. Both are going to be quasi-conference championship games. This week, you got Pattonsburg, Worth County. Next week, you got Worth County, King City. Could be back-to-back conference championship games for Worth County, depending on how those games go. If they beat Pattonsburg this week, they have a share of the conference title. If they lose Pattonsburg, then Pattonsburg wins conference at this point. And that's just nothing we saw coming this year after Pattonsburg was 1-9 last year. Could be a great turnaround there for Pattonsburg if they get a win this week. Nottoway Valley Rockport playing for a conference title, and Mound City with an outside chance. Here, if Rockport beats Nottoway Valley, Mound City could beat Rockport, and it'd be a 3-way tie there at the top of the conference.
Yeah.
Archie does have the WeMo pretty much locked up at this point,
True.
and Knox has the North Division locked up. So 2 of them locked up, 4 of them up for grabs as we're going here. So a lot of fun left to play here for the last 2 weeks as we get to important football here in
Love
October.
that. Love that.
Absolutely. So let's go back here to the schedule for week number 8.
While you're pulling this up, we're getting a lot of senior nights
Yes.
this week and next week. And, seniors, make sure you enjoy this Friday, your last home game, or next Friday, your last home game, because that's the game you'll remember the most.
Mhm.
And it's been a pleasure watching you guys play this season.
Do you remember your senior night from high school?
Yeah, well, I've had so many concussions that's about the only game I remember.
Who'd you guys play for senior night? Do you remember?
Cass Midway.
How'd it go?
Oh, they're pretty good.
They're pretty good.
I
Um,
I had a pulled hammy, so I was trying to make it go, but they're pretty good.
so for a long time at the Naui Holt, our senior night was one of two games. It was always week 8 or 9 in the conference play. It was either week 8 versus Mountain City, who was always state top 5, or week 9 versus Craig Fairfax,
Yeah,
who was bottom 10. So it's like either it's going to be a great senior night or it's going to be not so good.
yeah.
Um, luckily, my senior year, the conference schedule got revamped on there, and we got Craig Fairfax for homecoming. Got a big win there at homecoming, and then we got North Nottoway for senior nights, and we beat them there in senior night. And big man here caught his first varsity touchdown on senior night. So not that I
There you
remember
go.
anything.
Yeah, big
Um,
man touchdown.
Big man, and it was from 32 yards out too. So like
Okay.
I had to run a little bit. All right, a little corner route, and luckily both DBs were like 5'7" and tried to jump with me, and they both fell down. And I was able to get into the end zone, or else I wouldn't have made it.
I bet they still talk about that play.
Oh, just me on here. They were my teammates and my coaching staff were worried though, because at practice we would catch balls on there, and in practice I'd spike it. I do the Gronk spike. They're like, don't do it. I was looking for a ref as fast as I could. I'm like, get this ball out of my hands on here. I ran like all the way back to the end zone, was trying to find the ref to get that ball out of my hands as quick as possible. I was heading to get a penalty because I was just amped on there. But look at this week of games on here. And again, the big ones, the first three here, the big three ranked matchups.
Ooh,
They don't get any bigger than this. Number 1,
man,
Rockport at number 5 at Nottoway Valley.
jeez. Oh, we're picking already, aren't we? Oh, I
Yes,
got
we are.
I got to go with Rockport at this point. I really like Rockport's athletes. I think they're really explosive. Nod got that close win this last week, but it scares me off just a little bit. So I'm looking for Rockport to take care of business in this game.
Yeah, I've watched a little bit of both these teams throughout the year and kind of see how they would match up a little bit. I think athlete wise with skill position, I think it's pretty even on here. Naui Valley might have more options actually
Mhm.
between McGinnis at quarterbacks, a little more mobile than Anther. On there, they both throw good balls on there. You have Ty Hoyt at receiver for Naui Valley. You have Jack Meyercorth, who's really good for Rockport on the outside and one of the better receivers in the state that didn't get much touches because they're winning by 40 by mid-second quarter. So he's like, hey, we're not going to throw the ball anymore. Sorry, Jack. On there, and you also have Brock Holmes, who has almost 1,000 yards for Rockport in the backfield. You have Cooper Snarley, who's a really good back for Nottoway Valley. They also have Jax Cowden at tight end, who's been really good this year. I think Nottoway Valley has more options on the outside of what they can kind of choose to do. But also looking at that, Rockport has the size advantage up front. And between Heron and Gebhards, that's a lot to overcome
Yeah,
up front there. And I think Nottoway Valley is going to try to use their speed on that defensive line. I know Tyler Gray's a really good player. I think Snarley is one of the better linebackers in the state on that side of the ball. The Walker kid does a great job at linebacker for Nottoway Valley. They have some guys who play tough and they play quick on there. It's just sometimes size does matter a little bit every once in a while on there. And how do you reposition that line of scrimmage if you're getting pushed back 3 yards as you're going there? Again, I think it's a back and forth game. I think Rockport gets pushed for the first time since week 1 versus Worth County. I just have a hard time picking against Rockport right now. Coming into the year, I thought they were be the best team in the 275. They've kind of shown that, and they've really flexed their muscles throughout the meat of their schedule here in the middle of the season. I just think Rockport, it's hard to pick against them right now. It needs to be a fun game. I can't wait to kind of see how that
yeah,
game plays out. I can't pick against Rockport. Just knowing with that size advantage up front. Should be a really fun football game though, and it's in Burlington, so it's a home game for Nottoway Valley. A chance for them to should be a really good crowd. It should be a lot of fun there between the Thunder and the Blue Jays. Next, we will go south. Number 9, Appleton City, who's been on a roll since week 2, versus number 2, Lockwood, who hasn't lost this year, has a big win week 1 versus Archie, and has been just kind of cruising on cruise control here. They get their big lead, and they just kind of cruise the rest of the way. Get a lot of JV kids in there, so a chance for both of them to play a really fun football game here. A couple of the better teams in the state. I think Appleton has arguably one of the better running backs in the state. I think Lockwood has, I think, still one of the better defenses in the state on their varsity side because they're so disciplined on there. So it should be
yes.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, you're getting that disciplined offense too from Lockwood,
Hmm.
that triple option attack that if you're not on your P's and Q's on the other side, they'll take it to the house. And then Appleton is just super explosive again with Cash, and then Brownsburger at quarterback. They're a threat to score at any moment. So another great kind of matchup of
Hmm.
styles here, explosive versus kind of disciplined. Ultimately, I think Lockwood's discipline might help them give them the edge in this game here.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Lockwood back. I go all the way back to week one when they played Archie. I haven't seen very many teams bottle up Tristan Leaper the way they did. So if they can do that with Cash Anderson, that's going to speak really highly of their defense on here. And we talked about Cash before. You might bottle him up for 4 or 5 straight carries. It's
Yeah,
that sixth carry he's going to take for 50 yards to the house. It has to be every snap, it has to be every rep against them because he is a home run threat. He's like Saquon Barkley in that situation where, like, yeah, you bottle him up for the first quarter and then he starts running wild in the second. Like, just it's just a slow build there, and as you said, they're explosive. I do love Brownsburger's running style to complement
yeah,
Cash what they're doing right now because he's a little more of a bruiser sometimes on there. He's not afraid to lower his shoulder and run through some people. He's got a good size as a sophomore quarterback for him. And they got Bryson James back now too, who can catch the ball in the backfield a little bit and gives them another kind of dynamic there in the backfield. He was dealing with some injuries earlier this year as well, so I like Apple. I think Appleton's going to show out better in this one than they did back in week two
mm,
versus Archie. I think they've grown from that
yeah.
experience and
I
kind of
agree.
talking to people. They had some injuries and some weird illness and stuff that really threw them for a bit of a loop. Again, not an excuse, but some that did happen for context on there. I think they'll have a better showing this week versus Lockwood. It's just hard for me to pick against Lockwood at home here in this situation when they've been so good all year. I still love Lockwood as my number one team in the state, so I'm taking Lockwood over everybody. So that's where I'm kind of at with it. Um, and going back to Anthony's picks, he picked Rockport in the Naughty Valley game. Anthony is going with his boys in Appleton City in this one. He's going to roll with the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
He sent me his text earlier, so he is taking Appleton City to upset Lockwood here and really throw everything for a wrench in our poll for this next week, which would be a lot of fun. But I'm going to take Lockwood as well with Coach Dean. Up next, another top 7 matchup. Number 7 Pattonsburg welcoming in number 3 Worth County.
Man, I I doubted Pattonsburg one time, and they rubbed it in my face. So I got to roll with Pattonsburg.
Okay, there we go.
I'm a believer. You guys have me sold. Um, Man, what a game though. Jeez.
Two different styles.
Yeah.
Again, this is one that's a complete Worth County. If they like, if we're gonna run the ball 85% of the time, 90% of the time, that's fantastic. We're just gonna be as physical as possible. We're gonna try to just hit you in the mouth over and over and see if you can take it with our big offensive line. We're gonna follow Bo Collins on the edge and just try to just they're going to try to get the edge on you, but they're going to do it with some attitude on there. They're
Yeah.
ready to hit you on defense. Pattonsburg, they're going to want to make it a basketball game on grass. They want to get it up and down the floor, up and down the field as much as possible. They want to get their guys in space. Griffith and Mays, Humphrey are 3 really good offensive weapons for them. Fortner's had a great year at quarterback for Pattonsburg, and Pattonsburg defense is better than it has been.
Yeah.
I think this game comes down to turnovers on here. It's going to come down to turnovers and making sure on special teams you're recovering that onside kick the Pattons are going to kick sometimes there. You got to make sure you recover that and don't let them steal possessions on here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Worth County. I think Worth County gets a big win here. I think they're ready to kind of flex. They really haven't been able to flex their muscle versus a good team
Mm.
since that Rockport game. They've had some games at GRC where we thought maybe some teams could give them a little pushback, and no one really has yet. I think they're ready to show, and I think Worth County also be like, hey, we play a certain brand of football that we think is better than everyone
Yeah.
else here in the north part of the state, and we're going to show that on Friday. So we'll see. It might end up being a shootout, and I think Worth County still has the running an opportunity there with Ruby in the backfield, who's one of Anthony's favorite running backs, and Hayden Sanders having a good year at quarterback. But I'm going to take Worth County, and so is Anthony. He's also taking the Tigers over Pattonsburg, and I believe KMA is going to be doing both Rockport, Naughty Valley, and Worth County Pattonsburg this week. So it's a couple of good matchups for KMA on their KMA. They're coming down to Missouri for a couple games because they're that big here in Missouri.
What a slate of games there, though.
Yeah, that's 3 fantastic. We haven't had a week like
Wow.
this since week 1 when we had
Yeah.
Rockport, Worth County, and Archie Lockwood. That's been
Yeah.
the best slate since then, and we have 3 of them. We'll get to a 4th game here in just a minute, too. That's
Yeah.
a really good 4th matchup. You see there Archie already in red, so we're going to pick Archie for all 3 of us. They're going to forfeit win over Manhattan. You bet I'm counting that for the picks, as we were all going to take them anyways. So free win for us this week. Shout out Archie for a win over Manhattan, Kansas.
A
Manhattan.
rare, a rare chance to rest at the end of the
Yep.
season here.
In Manhattan, they're 5-1, 6-1. I think they just had too many injuries, and they want to get ready
Yeah,
for their playoffs over there. And like, yeah, we're not gonna do that game on there.
we're
So
good.
we're
Yeah.
good. We're good with this. So I found some sound effects on here, so I'm gonna annoy people with that going forward. Next game, Norman Hardin Central. They are traveling to Bramer, who's on a couple game winning streak here.
Yeah, Bramer seems like they're putting it together just a little bit, but Northern Hardin Central is just a beast right now. I am still beating my drum for Pfeiffer, uh, Offensive Player of the Year, 8-man football. This guy does it all. He throws it, he catches it, he returns it, he intercepts it. Just when I think of 8-man football, this is the type of kid I think about. A little bit undersized, but just makes it happen week in and week out for the Aggies.
Yeah, a little under 700 yards passing this year, 13 touchdowns, only one pick. On defense, he has 5 interceptions and 2 tackles for a loss. Running the ball, a little over 600 yards, almost 10 yards a carry, though, and 14 touchdowns. Also has a total of 5 total return touchdowns. I think it's an interception, I think 1 punt and 3 kickoff, or it's 3 kickoff and 1 punt, whatever it is on there. He's got 5 return touchdowns. He gets the ball in the open space. He's a lot of fun to watch. As you said, not very big, but man, he's wiry and he
Yeah.
is a tough little sucker on there. And he's a football smart player. Like you can tell
Yes.
when he plays, and I talked to their coaches on here, they're like, that kid is the epitome of what we want in a football player. Like he is so fun to coach because he gets it. He's really competitive. He's ultra competitive. He knows the ins out of the games. You can tell he's the leader, the general on the field there for him. So nothing but nice things to say about Brody Pfeiffer. Him, and I always love to bring up Jagger McNally, their little linebacker there for them. Again,
Yeah.
not the biggest kid. That kid is always has his nose around the football and makes some nice plays there for them on defense. And if you look at their schedule so far this year for the Aggies, a couple of wins that I think kind of went under the radar as the season went on there. Sweet Springs week 1, who was giving teams fits early in the
Yeah.
year. They were all over Wellington and Napoleon week 2, and they took it to Lincoln week 5, and no one else has kind of been close to Lincoln since
Yeah.
before or after that. So that's 3 really high quality wins. Again, they got Slater, Keatsville, and Bramer in the middle part of their schedule here. The next week they have Hughesville, a chance for a 4th really high quality win. And based on what's happening on the top of the rankings ahead of them, they could be a top 5 team going into district play, and no one would bat an eye because they've been that dominant. And again, some of their scores here, like the Slater score, they were up
Yeah.
56-0, whatever it was on there, and Slater and JV coming in. Like these games have not been close for a lot of these in the second half of the year that they're letting their young kids play on there,
Yeah.
which is great to see.
Yeah.
But it's not giving their full stats their due for how dominant their varsity has kind of been. They still have one of their varsity D linemen they're hoping to get back for the playoffs, who's missed last couple of weeks, and it really hasn't hurt them at all so far. So, yeah, but I'm also taking the Aggies in this one over Bramer, and as is Anthony. Next game that we have here is North Shelby at Schuyler.
Oh, we missed the Lincoln Knox.
Oh, yeah, 1 second. I am all out of sorts here. Yes, we're going to go Lincoln Knox next. What do you think about Lincoln and Knox?
May I should have waited on that one. Um, Man, again, really like Lincoln's quarterback, their receiver, number 4 out there. Uh, but man, just Bruce Vanoy, Knox, and the Eagles. They got that boost of confidence beating the North Shelby team there.
Mm-hmm.
And I look to see them keep rolling here. So I'm going to go with Knox. They're at home. But I think ends up being a close game here. I
Mm-hmm.
think Lincoln keeps it close. Just that experience of Knox helps them kind of get the edge over on Lincoln.
Yeah, and you said they're both coming off huge wins there. Lincoln over Paris, Knox over North
Yeah.
Shelby. So for both teams, you're always worrying about, hey, how big have our heads gotten this week after big wins last week on here? But I think both are kind of maybe dealing with that going into it. So I think that's kind of a wash at that
Hmm.
point on here. I think Lincoln and Knox both think they have something to prove on
Yeah.
here because I think Knox kind of thinks, hey, we're 7th in the state. Maybe we should be higher with their resume on there. Lincoln's like, hey, we're 4-1. Our only losses to a really good Norman Hardin Central team. Why aren't we getting
Yeah.
more buzz in that top 10 as well? So
True.
two teams both Still, I think hungry and chopping at the bit with a chip on their shoulder, trying to get into that echelon of the top part of the state. On here again,
Yeah.
our top 10 is only the top 10 of 44 teams, so it's less than the top quarter of the state's ranked in that top 10. As we're going here, so only so many spots. Two really good teams, and I am also taking Knox County. I just think with Claire and the offense that Knox runs, they're going to be able to dictate most of that game. On there, I think Lincoln's really good, and as you said, I think it's gonna be a really fun football game going back and forth. Anthony is rolling with the Cardinals though of Lincoln, so Anthony
Yeah.
going with another upset here with the road team. He's taking both Lincoln and Appleton City in a couple of road upsets over some ranked teams here, so it should be a lot of fun. Anthony could be either really right this week or really wrong, so we're going to have to find out this Friday. And again, Lincoln Knox starting at 6 o'clock there in Edina, so starting a little bit early. So when we start our scoreboard show, I'm starting around 6:15, so we can get started that game and get some of it here on the scoreboard show. Don't want to start right at 6 because it makes it a little bit longer night for me. So once that game gets going a little bit, we'll get started with the short scoreboard show and go with that all night. So now we'll go to North Shelby. Skyler,
All right.
what do you think here about the Raiders and the Rams?
I'm going Shelby.
I am as
Yeah.
well, and so is Anthony. Just North Shelby, I think they bounce back and
Yeah.
get back in that winning track with a big win over the Rams. Hughesville at receiving votes, Northwest Hughesville.
Gonna go with Hughesville here.
Yeah, Mustangs playing
Yeah.
pretty well right now, and I think they're going to use this as kind of a tune-up game for next week when they're a big showdown with the Aggies for that divisional title there. So it should be a lot of fun to see. Hughesville, I think the biggest thing, hey, get out of here with a win, stay healthy, get ready for a big conference game before we go in the districts. And I think it's good for both those teams. They have buys guaranteed after that, so they can go, hey, let's go out there and try to win this, and then we can
Yeah.
have another week to recover without having to worry about playing the playoffs the exact week after that. So that's really kind of a good setup to maximize that game next week. St. Joe Christian at King City.
Yeah. Originally I think you'd go. This is a wash for King City, but Christian's been playing tough this season. So hats off to them, but I don't know if they have enough to handle the offense there of King City. So I'm looking to see King City kind of get rolling again here. I believe they get their quarterback back this week, so that makes them pretty dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you have a kid like that who's a good kid who had to sit out for an extra week on there. I think he's itching to play on here, so I think he's gonna be ready to go and ready to get the juices back flowing on the football field on there. I think he's gonna play really well this week, and I think King City gets a nice win. I think St. Joe Christian is just a couple plays away in some of these games.
Yeah.
They do run that veer, that little triple option on there. I think they had a couple of turnovers just off the exchanges on there versus Pattonsburg. They let that game get away from them. They had one where they're trying to hit the dive guy, and either he didn't take it or the quarterback gave it too late. The ball was on the ground. Pattonsburg fell on it. Another one where they tried to pitch to the outside. Running back just dropped it. Pattonsburg fell on it. Two turnovers, like, hey, you don't expect turnovers in situations. Kind of happened there, and the game got kind of away from a little bit. But I think Christian makes this game tough on King City, but I think King City gets back in the winning ways after the loss 2 weeks ago to Pattonsburg and kind of gets ready for a big showdown with Worth County to try to get not only into the conference championship race if Worth County beats Pattonsburg, but also to fight for that one seed in districts as well. Because if they're looking at it, if Worth County beats Pattonsburg and then they beat Worth County, depending on how it goes in there, they're guaranteed at least a 2 seed. I think Pattonsburg might end up getting the 1 seed again. It's all about tiebreakers. You can only get jumped by one spot on there, so a lot of things can happen at that point. When we get closer to that, we can go through the scenarios there. But King City's still a lot to play for. They cannot drop this one to St. Joe Christian because it takes a lot of luster out of that Week 9 game. So I'm going to take King City. So is Anthony on there. Next one, another battle in the I-70. Sweet Springs at Concordia, an underrated good matchup here.
Yeah.
Two teams who love to run the snot out of the football.
Be one of the quickest games all night with how much they like to run the ball. We're going to go Concordia here. I think they're getting things rolling. I think they're getting ready to get into the playoff push here. This is one of those sneaky close games, though. These teams always play each other so close. And Coach Holtzman over there at Sweet Springs is always looking for an edge or an advantage to keep a game close. But I think Concordia is a little bit older and it's got a little more experience, so I think they'll go ahead and win this one.
Yeah, and for Sweet Springs, you got Hampton at quarterback there. He's the third leading rusher in the state, only behind Claire and Bowen. Pretty good company to be in. Just ahead of Cash Anderson there in the state in rushing yards. He's had a really good year. He's a really fun kid to watch. You see Lane Haas there for Concordia at 14. Still pretty highly in the state as well. And I think both these teams, if I go to rushing yards, Concordia 11th, Sweet Springs 9th, again, both about 260 yards per game, are going to, and again, both around the same, I think, for passing and two. If I go down here, yep, 30th and 31st,
Yeah.
76, 75 yards a game. So pretty much mirror images of each other on offense on here. I think that the advantage, though, is Concordia on defense. Number 3 against the run, only 92 yards per game. They're really good on that side of the ball, stopping the run.
Yeah.
Sweet Springs, then about 230 on there. A little harder for them to stop the run this year. I think that's the difference in the game. Concordia just a little better defensively. I think offensively they match up really well. I think that defensive side gives Concordia the advantage. And again, I think St. Paul's a weird matchup for Concordia with the way they sling the ball around. I think they match up better with Sweet
Mm,
Springs. So give me the Orioles in this one in a big game. But again, Sweet Springs has shown they can play these games real tough and make things really difficult on their opponents here. So
yeah.
don't be surprised this game is pretty close throughout between Concordia and Sweet Springs as we're going.
Who did Crane go with in that one?
He went with Concordia.
Yeah.
So he's going to be pretty. I usually agree with this quite a bit here, except for one game going forward here. He's got one game that's different than what I have. So we'll see what if we can pick it out here. Osceola at Drexel here in the WeMo, going south.
Senior night at Drexel. Going to go
Nice.
with Drexel. Nice little senior night there for Kate Eastwood, Miles Wheeler, Colton Nichols, and Triton Damer and Chris Poindexter.
Yeah, a lot of kids who have been there for a lot of good years for Drexel and
Yep.
keeping things going. And again, Drexel had a chance to finish 6-3 this year in the regular season. Has to keep going this week with Osceola. And then
Yep.
week 9 they have New Heights, which should be a winnable game there as well. So the road to 6 wins is right there for Drexel. He's got to take it. And Anthony and I think they're on their way too and getting win number 5 this week over a spunky Osceola team. Again,
Yep.
Devin Bloom, one of the bigger running backs you're going to see in the state. He's going to be big back there in the backfield. He's going to look like a lineman back there running, but he can move really well for a big guy on there. So should be a lot of fun, but I do think Drexel has a few more options on offense and gets a big win there over Osceola. Next one here, Stewartsville Osborne come off a big win at East Atchison. I do think EA gets a nice win again. EA for the last couple of years, I know Stewartsville has been down on here, but Stewartsville always like East Atchison they're so physical. They just beat up on Stewartsville the last couple of years. Like this, I don't know what you guys do, but it just annihilates our kids on there. So I think EA gets a big win here over Stewartsville.
I'll go EA as well.
And then the next one here that we have is Liberal hosting Rich Hill.
Liberal played Appleton a little bit closer, I think, especially at the beginning of the game. And Liberal's got some nice pieces there.
Mm-hmm.
Did get banged up a little bit versus Appleton, I hear. But I think a lot of them guys might be back for this game. So we'll go with the Bulldogs.
Yeah, and if you look at Rich Hill, they're 0-7 right now. They have Turner at quarterback, but other than that, just I think super young still and just not quite there. A couple tough losses to Northland and Osceola last 2 weeks. I think Liberal a little bit in that same realm there. And again, Liberal with Beeman at quarterback, if he's still there, that's going to be the best player on the field, I think, in that game. So give me Liberal. Anthony also took EA and Liberal as well in his 2 games. Next up, DeKalb at Mound City. Mound City looking to bounce back and get back in the winning ways before they play Rockport next week in week 9.
Yeah, just really love the way Mound City's playing ball this year. They play tough. They play a good brand of football. So we got to go Mound City here.
Yep, absolutely. We're all taking Mound City in that one over DeKalb, who's still looking for their first win of the year. Up next, Jasper at New Heights. Jasper kind of a surprising 4-3 right now, and a chance for them to clinch a winning record in the regular season here with a 5th win.
Yeah, I'm there with you. Jasper showed some spunk this year. New Heights does have a few explosive athletes, though. Watching them play Lincoln, and they got away from Lincoln a couple times, and Lincoln has some really nice team speed.
Mm-hmm.
So New Heights does have the ability to get out there, but again, Jasper's shown some spunk and kind of pulled some games there that you wouldn't expect them to. So I'm going Jasper here.
Yeah, I think it's Cronenwet and Williams, the 2 guys there for New Heights. Williams is a pretty quick running back receiver for him. He had the 4 kickoff returns versus Greenfield in that second half, and that high scoring, just back and forth, just ping pong of kickoff returns in that second half of that game. So he's really explosive in the open field. So Jasper has to worry about him. I do think Jasper has the overall little better team here with Lehman and Storm and kind of the Clements. A couple of guys there they have, the 2 Colts they have on offense on there. So give me Jasper over New Heights. Up next, Slater at Paris, who's on a 3-game losing streak right now. Again, playing 3 of the better teams in the state,
Yeah.
losing to North Shelby, Knox, and Lincoln.
Ouch.
2 losses combined between all of them
Yeah,
as you're going here. I think Paris is get back on the winning track here versus Slater.
I agree.
And so does Anthony here. I think Paris is able to kind of get back. And Paris did lose their starting linebacker a couple weeks ago on here somewhere. I don't know exactly when it happened here, but and just watching them play versus North Shelby, he brought a different edge and physicality to them on defense. Just you can tell with a kid that kid plays with extra fire on here, and you love seeing that. I think losing him really may hurt them versus Lincoln on there because you don't have that kid with the extra little edge that you play with on there. So I think if hopefully he gets back again. I don't know how serious his injury was. I just know he's missed a couple of games here for the Coyotes. Again, that's Brad Skinner is his name. I want to give him a shout out because he's a really good, really fun player, senior there for Paris, who's kind of helped resurrect that program. He's been one
Yeah.
of the turning point players there. Like, hey, this is how you want to play football. This is what Coyotes football looks like on here. So I want to give him a shout out for how well he's played this year and how much he's been missed in the last couple of games. I think he got hurt maybe versus Knox and then missed the
Hmm.
Lincoln game on there. So again, he had 57 tackles and 10 tackles for loss going into that stretch on there. So he's been a really good football player for them. Really hard nosed player there for Paris. We all took Paris in that one. Last few games here, we do have South Holt at Platte Valley.
Hmm. And I like Platte Valley playing EA tough,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna go with South Holt here. I know South Holt's young, um, but I like what they're trying to do over there.
Gotcha, absolutely. So it should be a really fun game there between South Holt and Platte Valley. Anthony is with you. He's taking South Holt. So I'm not giving Platte Valley the South Holt the kiss of death. I am taking Platte Valley in this one at home. Should be a fun game back and forth.
That's a
I just
pick
think
'em.
Platte Valley, their size is going to be a little bit of advantage here. I think South Holt maybe next year gets them on here so those kids develop a little bit more on here. I just think Platte Valley gets that third win. They get a fourth win next week, get the 4-5, going to district. The rematch with EA should be interesting there for Platte Valley. Again, no mascot, so I can't call them their mascot. Um, get it figured out. Come on. North Andrew at Princeton.
North Andrew's been beat up, and they played some tough games, and you really like how they showed out last week, given the circumstances. Um, and I think they can stay there. You might come down from that emotional high,
Mm-hmm.
but they've played some other games really tough and tight, and some young kids on their team as well that have gained experience throughout the year. So I'm going to go North Andrew on this one.
Yeah, the one thing I'm going to look at in this game, North Andrew, they want to run the ball about 200 yards per game this year. That's what they've kind of done best so far this year. And if you look at Princeton, giving up about 330 yards per game on the ground, that's the big one right there. I think it's the advantage for North Andrew. I think they're going to be able to, if you're going to give North Andrew the running game, they're going to take it. They're like, okay, sure, great, perfect. This is right our bread and butter, right where we want to be with it. So I'm going to take North Andrew in this one as well over Princeton. Warwick at Santa Fe.
Who did Crane go?
He did go North Andrew.
North Andrew. I'm going to go Oric. Get the win over Santa Fe there.
That is what Anthony and I are going with as well. Again, Oric, the Walker kid, really good linebacker there for the Bearcats. We haven't going to talk about him a whole lot this year because they've struggled a bit at times. But I think 113 tackles right now is what they have on max reps for
Dang.
him. So he's been very active in the middle of that
Yeah.
defense for the Bearcats on there. And then on offense, they're doing some good things there as well. Just kind of had some tough games versus some better opponents here, but I think they get back in the winning ways versus Santa Fe. And they're trying to push to get that 3 seed in districts on there and get that bye. Get healthy for a rematch with Wellington there in the second round. Albany at Stanberry, as we all three went Oric. What do you think here with Albany and Stanberry? I know
Oh,
I'll let you know that Anthony and I both went Albany in this one. We think Elliot Mercer just a little bit too much for the
yeah.
Bulldogs.
I'm going to go Albany as well. Seems like they're turning the corner a little bit. But Stanberry had a good win. What was that, last week?
2 weeks ago versus
2
Princeton,
weeks
yeah.
ago. Yep.
Yeah, good win there for them. I just think Albany a little bit tougher up front and just going to be a little bit
Yeah.
more of a tough sledding there for for Stanberry in that one. She really struggled last weekend. Played Worth County, had -3 passing yards, I think 44 rushing yards in the half. There versus Worth County. Worth County kind of flexed their muscles a bit last week against Stanberry.
Yeah.
Last two matchups here. One more on Friday night. St. Paul Lutheran at Wellington Napoleon. Fun matchup. Two teams that love to sling the ball around.
Yeah. Oh boy. I think this has been the toughest week for the picks. I think I go Wellnap here. I really like Sheets and the receiver at
Kreisel, yep.
Kreisel. But I do think Wellnap just has a few more weapons. I really like the receivers. They got a nice little running back there too. Number 3, I think.
Holder, yep.
Yep. So I think Wellnap just has the ability to go to different areas depending on what game flow they need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think both teams you can see there 2 and 3 in the state in passing yards. I think Wilnap, who's also rushing for almost 200 yards per game, has a little more balance. Concordia, St. Paul around 100 yards
Yeah.
per game on the ground. I think that balance makes Wilnap a little bit harder to stop. You talked about Holder running the football there. Then you also have Kolkmeyer and Best on the outside doing a really good job at receiver for Wilnap. I just think they have more options for Hampton to go to than Sheets does for St. Paul. And I think defensively, Wilnap's a little bit better too. So give me Wilnap in this one, but it should be a fun matchup for both of these teams here. I think trying to get kind of things situated for the playoff time on here and kind of get where they want to be come playoff time. So it looks like we're all three going with Wilnap. And then our last game here of the day is on Saturday. Greenfield making the trip up to St. Joseph to see our good old buddy Chuck Davis there on Saturday afternoon.
I'm gonna go LeBlanc. I don't know how solid I am on that. I keep kind of waiting for Greenfield to turn that corner because I believe in their explosiveness. They just haven't quite put those puzzle pieces together quite yet.
Yeah, two teams that have definitely struggled a bit defensively. They're both bottom 3 in the state in rush defense right now, and um, not again LeBlanc right now. Again, we don't have their stats for the KC East Christian game. They played better defensively, so they might be a little bit better stat wise if that game is included on here. But two teams that are bottom 5 in rush in total offense allowed scoring. If I look here, Greenfield 41st in the state. LeBlanc a little bit better scoring wise, 21st. Do a better job keeping people out of the end zone. They give up yards, but they don't usually give up points as much this year. I just think LeBlanc a little bit more options there they can kind of go to and maybe a little bit bigger up front. Again, Greenfield's not huge up front this year.
Yeah.
That's kind of the one thing that's really hurting them, especially on defense. Not
Yeah.
a whole lot of size to buck up versus teams on here. So I will also take Bishop LeBlanc, and so will Anthony. So if we're looking at our picks for this week on here, there they are. So win, lose, or draw, that's who we have this week. Again, some disagreement here with Anthony at the top, and then we disagree a little bit about him here with Platte Valley, South Holt, but a lot of agreement here, but it should be a lot of fun games that really excited for this week 8. And again, only 2 weeks of the regular season left, and then we're in the playoff time, which is crazy that we're already in here getting ready for the postseason coming up next here. And again, if you're curious about the expert picks for the year, this is what they are through the first 7 weeks.
Oh, man.
I had a perfect week last week, 22-0. Doesn't happen very often. Usually I get at least a game or two wrong on here. So I had to tap myself on the shoulder a little bit here for getting a correct week here, because I know I hear it whenever I get 2 games wrong. It's like, you picked against us. Like, I'm sorry. Thinking I'm all right on there for it. So, again, was a lot of fun last week to get all those rights. And you guys took some swings to try to get back at me in the standings. I was able to gain a little ground on there. But it's been a lot of fun making the picks this year and keeping track of them here on the show.
Well, I hope I can jump you this week due to Misha points.
To the Misha point, you're stringing the schedule a little harder on there. Absolutely. And again, I want to thank Rain Physical Therapy for sponsoring our media poll, as they have for the last couple of years. And again, this is the poll right now. I'm going to try to get it pulled up here. My computer will cooperate here in week number 8. Again, Rockport and Lockwood, Archie, Worth County, Nod Valley has kind of stuck at that top 5 for a while now. The Aggies right in the outside looking at 6. Knox and Pattonsburg tied at 7. Appleton City at 9. And North Shelby hanging on that 10 spot despite the loss to Knox last week. Hughesville and King City receiving votes. And if you ask the voters we're all thinking kind of that Lincoln, Mound City, Wellnap kind of section of teams. Concordia is kind of the next section of teams. It's not quite good enough for votes, but kind of teams that we're all kind of looking at are top 15-esque teams this year.
Well, these media polls mean nothing this week and next week with the
Correct.
matchups we have coming up. That pretty much settles a lot of this.
Yep. And I tell people all the time, like, why are we ranked so low? It's like, keep winning and you'll write up the rankings and it won't matter on there. And I have a good friend who used to do the d2football.com, cover Division two football on there, and he'd always get people from around the nation. Why is Slippery Rock only 20 this week? They just beat a good team last week. It's like, again, well, his favorite quote that he always tell me is, respect is really hard to earn, but easy to lose on there when it comes to polls on here. It's really hard to gain that respect to jump into it. But once you're up there, you lose a couple of games. It's real easy to lose it and drop out of there. So it just takes a little bit of time. We see some teams that were below 500 last year, in Knox and Pattonsburg jumping in there. Hughesville, who's been kind of around 500. King City, same thing as last year, starting to get some of that respect going into this year. And while we had some teams at the top last year, return this year, a lot of good talent. It's hard to bump them out, and especially if they don't lose on here. Again, all of our teams that have received votes or ranked are either undefeated or have one loss to someone who's also in the top 10. So should be a lot of fun. Again, we'll have some good matchups this week to kind of decide a couple more things as we're going here. It might get a little more, either going to be a little more clear or it's going to get a lot more confusing. We're not quite sure. We'll let you know about 10 o'clock there on Friday nights. So that's what we're looking at right now. And again, we already went through the standing stuff. So I think that's everything. Anything else you want to partake with here before we close this down without Anthony today?
Hopefully, we threw enough spice around the state to cover up for Anthony missing tonight.
Yeah, and again, he's working. He's a hardworking man. So around with as we're looking here, and excited again for Friday night. We are doing the scoreboard show again here. So again, what that's going to look like is about 6:15 or so. I'm going to jump on here and go live, and we're going to look at focusing heavily on that Knox County Lincoln game here, right here on the scoreboard. And again, I'm going to post this link out again. I've been doing it every Friday. I forgot to last week, and people were asking for it. It's the same link every week. I just started repost it so you guys can see it in your feed a little easier to get to it. I'll make sure to do that again this week on Facebook and Twitter, so you guys can find that link and easy to click on it. So if you can't watch the show during the Friday night games because you're somewhere with not great service, but you can still get enough to update the scoreboard, that's perfect. But again, around 6:15, we'll go and try to check in live for Knox Lincoln and see how that game's kind of going, all the way up until 7 o'clock. I'm going to text a couple of coaches who are not coaching on Friday to see if they'll jump on. They don't know about this yet, but hopefully I can get Drew Smith and Chuck Davis. Usually they're okay with it to come on, and since they're both not on Friday on the sidelines, maybe to give me 5 to 10 minutes to watch the game and just shoot the moon while we're watching some Lincoln, Knox County. And then once that 7 o'clock hits, we will have not only this game in the rotation, we're also going to rotate between Lockwood and Appleton City, Pattonsburg, Worth County, and Nottoway Valley Rockport is the 4 games we're going to rotate through heavily, while still giving you guys score updates for all the other scores on there. So again, we have 4 big heavyweight matchups, and again, if one of them starts to get a little lopsided, we'll kind of slip it out of the rotation. We did that a little bit with Lincoln and Paris last week, and then we put in last week, I think it was King City and North Andrew. Hey, this is a good game right now, and we can slide games into that rotation there as well. I'm going to try to cycle through as many as possible, and the good thing about this is I can pause, rewind a bit, and show big games, big plays in those games on there as well, so you guys can see what's kind of happening with those. So hopefully it goes well tomorrow. We have 1.5 shows with that format under our belts, so we're going to be able to kind of see if we can keep making it a little bit better and kind of give everybody a good broadcast to kind of check in. I think a lot of people tune in once their game is over. They might tune in to kind of see how the scores are going around the state and catch some of the endings of some of the better games that are close here in the state as well. So really excited for our version of Witching Hour on Missouri and football around 9 o'clock or so. So
you're really rounding into your playoff season form here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Games.
Gonna try to, and then again, probably won't be able to do the live look-ins when it comes to playoff in here because Misha and their streaming rights, they're not going to let that happen on here. So we'll have to just have a scoreboard show where I'm just out here talking. And with that, again, we're going to have that for the first round of the playoffs. The second round of the playoffs, we will not have that because I will be unavailable for that Friday because if I try to stream while at my wedding rehearsal dinner, my fiance might strangle me. She just gave me a glare with that. So we're gonna skip that week. Be back for district championship and on for here from Missouri 8-man football. But
I
super
say we
excited.
I say we create a poll and have the people vote. So
Have the people vote.
it's not you deciding, it's the people.
Yeah. Um,
You
I
are
have
a
one.
man
I
of
have
the
one
people.
person who's going to veto that one, and she has full power to veto that one. And understandable, she's mouthing something right now that I don't know what she's saying. And I don't want to look at her with that. But love you, Shelby. As we're going. So again, that's what's going to end up the show today. Appreciate everybody for watching. Ready for a really fun, exciting Friday nights of high school football here in the state of Missouri. When it comes to 8-man, you guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you, Coach Dean. Thank you, Anthony, for sending the picks in. And we'll see you guys on Friday at 6:15. If I can. Here we go. Now we're ending it.